Good afternoon, everybody. It is Steve Lookner with Agenda Free TV coming to you with breaking news. Sorry for the delay in getting on the air. A bunch of stuff going on here, so I apologize for the delay. But we're on the air right now. So a judge, a federal judge, has dismissed the Trump DOJ indictments of James Comey and Letitia James, saying that Lindsey Halligan, the Trump-picked replacement U.S. attorney who brought these cases, was not legally appointed. So in theory, a legally appointed prosecutor could bring these cases again, in theory, although I don't know if there's going to be a statute of limitations issue with Comey. But you can see, in a second, I'll show you the headline here. In a second, I'll show you, and we have the ruling. So we want to bring you a live update on this, and I have not heard any reaction from President Trump or the White House yet. So we're going to see what happens with that, too. All right, hold on a second. I know it's black on the screen. It's not going to be black for long, though. It's not going to be black for long. Give it a second here. Hang on. You'll see it in a second. You'll see it in a second. Judge dismisses Comey and James indictments after finding that prosecutor was illegally appointed. Hold on a second here. So what I need to do is we're going to be taking comments from you guys. Maybe we'll have an update from President Trump and hear what he has to say. And our viewer says a distant galaxy thinks they will follow the law next time they bring the charges, unless they needed to circumvent the laws to bring them in the first case, as it appears today. That's what our viewer Distant Galaxy said. Lisa S. thinks Trump is busy yelling at Pam Bondi. John Exactly thinks an all-caps rant from Trump can't be long now. I'm guessing Trump is not happy about this. Viking for Life thinks this judgment will be overturned. That's what Viking for Life thinks. I believe it's possible they'll appeal this, but I'm going to try to see. I'm not a legal expert, so I'll see in some of the articles if it says they're going to appeal this. Well, maybe Trump will announce they're going to appeal it if possible. Anyways, we're going to talk about this. We're going to take your comments on the air. I do want to thank our moderators. We have Janet B. and Ruth moderating, and Roberts May Queen over there on YouTube moderating right now. Thank you so much. I also have the ruling. We're going to look at that. Where's the ruling here? There it is. Opinion and order granting motion to dismiss indictment. Wow. Kim Ann, our viewer, thinks they won't bring the charges again. That's a whole other question, is would they bring the charges again, even if they're allowed to? Oops, hold on a moment here. I also want to thank, everything is all messed up now. Where did my headline go? There's the headline right there. Thanks to Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha, who moderate for us on X. Thanks to our Twitch moderators, Idaho Star, I Got That Fire, and Matthew Kohai 3. And thanks to our Facebook moderators. Hang on a moment here. You know, President Trump, I think, is going to sign an executive order at 4 p.m. But that's closed press right now. I wonder if they'll open it up. Right now, it's closed press. That means no live coverage of that. Maybe Trump will do an appearance. I don't know. Jake Morgan, our viewer, thinks it'll be refiled. And thanks to all of our moderators on Facebook. All right, let's get into this. Hold on one second here. I am just getting everything set up. And again, sorry we came on a few minutes late. Hold on one second. Oh, and thank you, Hebrew Jerusalem Prince. Hebrew Jerusalem Prince. Okay, I really appreciate your support. Okay, last thing we have to do before getting into this is a sponsored broadcast today. Really appreciate our sponsor, Gold Safe Exchange. So let's hear a quick word about our sponsor, and then we will get into all the details. You know, a number of people these days are investing in gold, silver, and other precious metals as a way of diversifying their portfolio. If you're interested in purchasing some precious metals, one way you can do that is with a precious metals IRA. This is an IRS-approved type of IRA in which your savings are invested into gold or other precious metals. If that kind of thing sounds interesting to you, if you want to know more, you can reach out to the folks at Gold Safe Exchange. They specialize in gold IRAs and other precious metals IRAs. Gold Safe Exchange puts a priority on customer service and transparency. They've got an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. They have a price match guarantee. If you find a lower quote, they'll beat it. And they explain their processes in clear language so their clients know what's happening with their money. Also, they abide by all government security and safety standards. So if you're even a little interested in opening a gold IRA or other precious metals IRA, call Gold Safe Exchange at 800-341-6727 for a no-pressure chat. Or visit them on the web at goldsafeexchange.com/agenda-free. And mention Agenda-Free TV when you reach out to access a special offer where you could get free gold or silver with qualifying purchases. Okay, let's get into it. James Comey, you can see the headline right here from AP. Judge dismisses Comey and Letitia James indictments after finding that prosecutor was illegally appointed. So remember, some people feel that the Comey and James indictments of James Comey and Letitia James, James Comey, the former FBI head, Letitia James, the Attorney General in New York, some people feel that those indictments were brought simply because President Trump wanted to go after his political enemies. Anyways, those indictments, I believe, happened in September and October. Well, now they've been dismissed. It's possible maybe they could be brought again. Let's get into some of the details here. A federal judge today dismissed the criminal cases against former FBI Director Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, concluding that the prosecutor who brought the charges at President Trump's urging was illegally appointed by the Justice Department. The rulings from U.S. District Judge Cameron McGowan Curry, says AP, halt at least for now, a pair of prosecutions that had hastened concerns that the Justice Department was being weaponized to pursue the president's political adversaries, and this ruling amounts to a stunning rebuke of the Trump administration's legal maneuvering to install a loyal and inexperienced prosecutor willing to file the cases. The orders make Lindsey Halligan, the latest Trump administration prosecutor, to be disqualified because of the manner in which they were appointed. Both defendants had asked for the cases to be dismissed with prejudice, meaning that the Justice Department would not be able to bring them again. But the judge instead dismissed them without prejudice, though it was not immediately clear if the Justice Department might attempt to revive the prosecutions. So again, we don't know right now if the Trump administration Justice Department will try to do these prosecutions again with a different prosecutor. I'm assuming they would have to go to the grand jury again and get indictments again. Okay? The challenge to Halligan's appointment was one piece of a multi-pronged assault on the indictments by both Comey and James, who each had sought to have their cases dismissed on grounds that the prosecutions were vindictive. That's a different objection. Comey's lawyers had also seized on irregularities in the grand jury process and seeking to get the prosecution thrown out. Each of those requests remains pending. So the two defendants, Letitia James and James Comey, have challenged these cases for other reasons. And I guess those have not been ruled on. Today's order deals exclusively with the mechanism the Trump administration employed to appoint Lindsey Halligan, a former White House aide with no prior prosecutorial experience, to lead one of the Justice Department's most elite and important offices. Halligan was named to the job in September after a different interim U.S. Attorney, Eric Siebert, was effectively forced out amid pressure from the Trump administration to file charges against Comey and James. After Siebert resigned, Comey's lawyers argued, the judges of the federal court district should have had exclusive say over who got to fill the vacancy. Instead, Trump nominated Halligan while publicly imploring Bondi in a social media post to take action against his political opponents, saying in a Truth Social post that justice must be served now. So again, Comey's lawyers had argued that under the law, when the previous U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of New York, I believe it is, had been effectively forced out under pressure to bring charges against Comey and James, the Comey's lawyers had argued that legally, the replacement should have been chosen by the judges of that court district. Instead, President Trump picked a judge and installed that judge. Letitia James released a statement. Did James Comey and Letitia James both release statements? Hold on a moment. I don't see one from Comey yet, although I got to check his Instagram. I believe Letitia James has released a statement. All right, I'm looking at Comey's Instagram, and I don't see a statement from him yet today. How about Letitia James? Let's look at her statement. Her statement. Where is her? I have to find her official account. Here it is. I don't see, hold on. Letitia James said, I am heartened by today's victory and grateful for the prayers and support I have received from around the country. I remain fearless in the face of these baseless charges as I continue fighting for New Yorkers every single day. So that's what Letitia James had to say. I want to get to some of your comments on this. Let me just check out. We're almost done going through this article. Judges have separately disqualified interim U.S. attorneys in New Jersey, Los Angeles, and Nevada, but have permitted cases brought under their watch to move forward. But lawyers for Comey and James had argued that Curry's ruling needed to go even further because Halligan was the sole signer of the indictments and the driving force behind them. And just some background on Comey and James. Comey has for years been one of Trump's chief antagonists, appointed to the FBI head director job in 2013 by President Obama. Comey, at the time of Trump's 2016 election, was overseeing an investigation into whether Trump's presidential campaign had conspired with Russia to sway the outcome of the race. Furious over that investigation, Trump fired Comey in 2017, and the two officials have verbally sparred in the years since. Letitia James has also been a frequent target of Trump's ire, especially since she won a staggering judgment against him and the Trump Organization in a lawsuit alleging he defrauded banks by overstating the value of his real estate holdings on financial statements. An appeals court overturned the fine, which had ballooned to over $500 million with interest, but upheld a lower court's ruling that Trump had committed fraud. So again, the case has been, these two cases, one against James Comey and one against Letitia James, for the moment have been dismissed. I don't know if this can be appealed, this ruling. From what I understand, it's possible, possibly they could be brought again by a different prosecutor, but it's not about the merits of the case per se. The reason they have been dismissed is that the federal judge ruled that Lindsey Halligan, who was handpicked by President Trump to be the replacement head prosecutor in this district to bring these charges, the judge said she was not legally appointed to this position, and President Trump, I don't want to misstate the. I'll have to show you the ruling, but she was not legally appointed to the position. Okay, so I want to take some comments from you guys. We're going to look at the ruling. Let me just make sure and see, has President Trump said anything? By the way, CNN is reporting Trump to unveil new health care proposal as soon as today. So if anything about that happens while we're on the air, I will certainly show it to you. But let me take some comments from you guys. Just give me 1 second here. Not that long ago, we covered both of these indictments. You can see here, Washington Post says, judge tosses cases against Comey and James, rules prosecutor appointment unlawful. Spaceman says, is the statute of limitations still in effect? So, this I don't know. There was some sort of statute of limitations on bringing charges against Comey that was going to come into effect soon. So I don't know how that's going to affect possibly refiling the charges against Comey. I'll see if I can find something about it. Again, I'm not a lawyer. Has the statute of limitations run out on bringing charges against Comey? But if it ran out after they already brought charges, can they still bring new charges? What I can tell you is, oh, by the way, the New York Times says that the Trump administration is likely to appeal this ruling by the judge. And the New York Times thinks that maybe the Trump administration would try to bring the cases again. Okay? So the New York Times believes that they will... Oh, and I have something about the statute of limitations too. Okay. What does it say here? Even though the Comey... Okay, so according to the New York Times, so what happened is, since the case was brought against Comey, the 5-year statute of limitations for charging him for this crime has now expired. But the indictment was originally brought before the statute of limitations expired. And according to the New York Times, they now have 6 months to refile. So according to the New York Times is saying that prosecutors can file again charges against Comey because they have 6 months to refile. I'm not a lawyer. I can't confirm that. That's what the New York Times is saying. Okay? America Woman, our viewer, thinks this won't be the last of it. Let me read some more comments here. Let's see here. Kevin Nicholson says, this is horse crap. I don't know exactly what Kevin means is horse crap, what part of the story is. Jared Fisher says, judges are bailing out the Dems like always. Evan Williams says, wanna bet this ruling gets thrown out? CRT says, because it's about revenge. Earn Dog wants the political background about this judge. Curry is an appointee of President Bill Clinton, normally based in South Carolina. Now, personally, I personally would not discount a judge's ruling on either side. The most important thing is the judge's legal arguments. Unless you think all judges appointed by a Republican president always are going to rule for the Republican, and all judges appointed by a Democratic president are always going to rule for a Democrat. I don't like making either of those assumptions, but we'll have to see if there's an appeal, how the process plays out. Again, this judge is an appointee of President Bill Clinton, normally based in South Carolina. I'm going to give you some more background on this. Sandy Crow says, of course this was dismissed. Let's see here. P.A. Jeeper thinks this is a technical dismissal, expected to be refiled before Turkey Day. I'm going to give you some more background here. Hang on a moment here. So no statement from James Comey yet that I have seen. And no statement. What is President Trump going to say about this? There's nothing yet from President Trump on Truth Social. I've heard no statement from the White House. So what is President Trump going to say? I assume he's not happy about this. Mike Ramey thinks it'll be refiled. Our viewer. Brett B. thinks Trump will not be pleased. All right, let me show you some more about this here. Hang on a moment. Hang on a moment. I'm just looking to see if there's any other White House response to this, and I have not seen it yet. Okay, here is some more. Let me give you some more background on this. Oh, let me show you the ruling also. So this is the ruling. I'm not going to read through the whole thing. It's 29 pages long. But if you go down to the end, it says, conclusion, for the reasons set forth above, it is hereby ordered and adjudged that the appointment of Lindsey Halligan as interim U.S. attorney violated this law and the Appointments Clause of the U.S. Constitution. All actions flowing from Ms. Halligan's defective appointment, including securing and signing Mr. Comey's indictment, were unlawful exercises of executive power and are hereby set aside. Now, another thing here is I don't know if any other cases that she might have been involved in are at risk here, because it says all actions flowing from her defective appointment, including securing and signing Mr. Comey's indictment. So could other cases be thrown out? I don't know. The attorney, now I know this just says Mr. Comey, but I know the ruling also applied to the Letitia James case. The Attorney General's attempts to ratify Ms. Halligan's actions were ineffective and are hereby set aside. Mr. Comey's motion to dismiss the indictment is granted in accordance with this order. The indictment is dismissed without prejudice, which means in theory the case can be brought again. The power to appoint an interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia pursuant to 28 U.S. Code 546 during the current vacancy lies with the district court until a U.S. attorney is nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate, which Lindsey Halligan was not. So the ruling says that the replacement U.S. attorney needed to be chosen by the court itself, the district court itself, until a U.S. attorney was nominated by the president and confirmed by the Senate, which Halligan was not. Soccer fan Machado thinks Pam Bondi dropped the ball on this one. Let's see here. Has Pam Bondi commented on this yet? I see nothing from Pam Bondi yet on this. I also don't know, are we going to get a comment from the White House? Is anyone going to appear on camera and talk about this from the White House? I do not know. Richard Province, our viewer, thinks the administration is incompetent. P4N Depravity said not replacement, interim. I'm sorry if it's possible I said replacement when the correct term is interim. If I said that, I'm sorry. If that's the case, I'm sorry. Let's see here. Tenfold believes that Halligan is an incompetent lawyer who has no experience in prosecutions and that she messed up in getting the grand jury to sign off on this. Now remember, Comey and James's legal teams also had requested this case dismissed for other reasons, and those reasons have not been ruled on yet. Bringo Yadingus thinks this judge is overstepping power. Darcel Michelstein says, how much money does it cost us taxpayers every time they file a case against one of the people that hurt Trump's feelings? This is getting ridiculous. Guido says the deep state protects its own. Now, Cece asked about John Bolton. But John Bolton's indictment, I believe, was in a different district, was not overseen by Lindsey Halligan, if I have that right. The John Bolton indictment was, wasn't it maybe in Maryland? Is that where East was the District of Maryland? So that's different. Because Lindsey Halligan was not, the Trump administration did not attempt to install her in the District of Maryland. The Comey indictment and I believe was in the Letitia James one, I believe were in, what was it, Eastern District of Virginia? Just trying to confirm this for you. Eastern District of Virginia. Hey, quick thanks to Finally 1238 for the memberships. That's really nice of you. Also, P.A. Jeeper, thanks so much for your support. P.A. Jeeper says, so court precedent that the actions taken under an improper appointment or improper person are null and void. Interesting auto pen. So P.A. Jeeper, I guess, feels that this ruling means that some of Joe Biden's actions should be thrown out. I don't know legally about that ruling, P.A. Jeeper. I am not a lawyer. That's what P.A. Jeeper said. Okay. And then our viewer said, same as Judge Aileen Cannon's ruling that Jack Smith was illegally appointed and that therefore lacked the authority to bring the prosecution. So I heard, thanks for bringing this up, one of the legal experts on TV I quickly heard before coming on air said there was some similarity between this ruling today and the ruling that tossed out, I think, the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Let me see if I can get something about that real quick. Yes, so the classified documents case against President Trump was dismissed by an appeals court, and that was last November. Is that what it was? Hold on a second. Hold on, I don't know if I have the right thing. Let me take that back. Where is the where is it here? When was this Aileen Yes, so back in July of this year, was it, or last year? I think it was last year. Was it? I'm trying to pull this up here. In July of last year, District Judge Aileen Cannon ruled that Jack Smith was unlawfully appointed, and she dismissed the criminal case of the Trump classified documents criminal case. Now, I believe that might have been appealed. I don't know the whole saga of that. But she did rule that last July, or in July of 2024. Okay. By the way, thanks to Janet B. for the membership. Let's talk more about this ruling. Hang on a second here. And I'm waiting to see nothing yet from President Trump. What will President Trump have to say about this? We'll have to see. Okay, hold on a moment here. So, by the way, thanks to our moderators over on YouTube, Janet B., Roberts May Queen, Leslie Ladyhawk, and Ruth, and also our moderators on Facebook. Thank you for moderating there. Margaret Riley's over there right now moderating. Kay Lowry Body, thank you. Thanks Chuck Mosca for subscribing over on Facebook. Thanks to our Twitch moderators, Idaho Star, I Got That Fire, Matthew Kohai 3, and Sarah. And also thanks Moomed 2 for subscribing on Twitch, and Farquad for subscribing on Twitch. Farquad says Department of Grievances isn't working. Thanks Drunk Can Cook and Shraki for subscribing on Twitch, and Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha for moderating on X. Okay, let's hold on a second here. Give me one moment. Let's check out this summary from the Washington Post about this new ruling. Judge tosses cases against Comey and James, rules prosecutor appointment unlawful. A federal judge dismissed charges today against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, delivering a potentially fatal blow to President Trump's efforts to engineer prosecutions of two of his prominent foes. U.S. District Judge Cameron McGowan Curry ruled that Lindsey Halligan, the prosecutor overseeing both cases, had been unlawfully appointed to her position, and therefore indictments that she secured against Comey and James must be thrown out. Curry, however, denied a request to bar the Justice Department from seeking to indict them again under a lawfully appointed prosecutor. So, will another prosecutor be appointed to this position lawfully and then bring charges? Beats me. A spokesman for the Justice Department did not immediately return calls for comment. However, department officials are all but certain to appeal. So the Washington Post believes this ruling will be appealed. If they lose the appeal, will they bring charges again? I don't know. Curry, Judge Curry, an appointee of President Bill Clinton, normally based in South Carolina, was specially assigned to rule on the validity of Halligan's appointment as interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. Her decision delivered rebukes to the Justice Department on two fronts. By declaring Halligan's appointment invalid, Curry joined several other judges in rejecting legal arguments that the Trump administration has used to install loyalists in top prosecutorial positions across the country. The judge's decision to go further and dismiss the cases against Comey and James complicates Trump's efforts to deploy the Justice Department in furtherance of his desire for retribution. The Post says Trump has called for Comey's prosecution for years following his decision to fire Comey in 2017. Trump has accused James, a Democrat who ran for office in part with vows to hold Trump accountable, of wrongdoing after James secured a multi-million-dollar civil fraud judgment against Trump and his real estate empire last year. Since his return to the White House, Trump has repeatedly called on the Justice Department to move swiftly to charge James and Comey with crimes, paying little mind, says the Washington Post, to whether evidence existed to support charges. When Eric Siebert, the Trump-appointed interim U.S. attorney overseeing both investigations, concluded that the evidence did not suffice, Trump forced him out of his job and installed Halligan, an ex-White House aide and one of the president's former personal lawyers, in his place. Within days, Halligan, who had no previous prosecutorial experience, took both cases before grand juries and secured indictments. And then this is about the other challenges Comey and James have made that have not been ruled on yet. In addition to the effort to challenge the validity of Halligan's appointment, Comey and James have also urged judges to end their prosecutions on grounds that they are improperly driven by Trump's vindictive animosity toward them. Separately, Comey has sought dismissal of his case over what lawyers have described as irregularities in the grand jury process that resulted in his indictment. So, from what the other article from AP said, these attempts to have the cases dismissed have not been ruled on yet. So, if I'm understanding this right, it's possible that a judge will also rule that one or both of these cases should be dismissed for these reasons. We'll have to see what the judges say. Let me just finish this, and I'll take some more comments from you. In defending Lindsey Halligan's appointment, the Justice Department had advanced an expansive view of its authority to temporarily fill U.S. attorney vacancies with the president's candidate of choice, despite efforts by Congress to rein in the circumstances in which appointees can fill those roles while bypassing Senate approval. Typically, the Senate must confirm a president's U.S. attorney's picks. But the law empowers the Attorney General to temporarily fill vacancies by making an interim appointment for a period of 120 days. If the Senate has still not confirmed the president's nominee by the end of that time, the law permits the federal judges in a given judicial district to name a temporary replacement. Justice Department lawyers maintain that the Attorney General has the authority to make successive interim picks, as she did with Halligan's appointment after Siebert was forced out. Attorneys for Comey and James disputed that interpretation of the law. They argued if an administration were allowed to name new interim U.S. attorneys every 120 days, there would be no reason for the president to ever put nominees before the Senate for confirmation. So am I getting this right? Was Eric Siebert appointed originally as the interim U.S. attorney? Was he not confirmed by the Senate? And then he was forced out, and then Trump appointed a second straight interim U.S. attorney? Is that what happened? I'd have to read the case maybe for that. Let me see if I can quickly find an answer for that question. Eric Siebert, let's see. He had not been confirmed by the Senate yet, I guess. It looks like. So he was originally, Siebert was originally nominated as the interim, I guess, U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia. He had a 4-month tenure as the interim. And then his nomination was moving forward in the Senate. But I guess the Senate had not confirmed him, from what I understand. And then he was removed. Siebert resigned. Trump rejected that assertion, claiming he had been fired before Siebert could resign. According to the AP, Siebert was told to resign or be fired. So I guess I have to read from what the Washington Post article is suggesting. The legal issue here is that the law empowers the Attorney General to temporarily fill vacancies by making an interim appointment for a period of 120 days. But this was the second straight Trump administration appointment to that position. And the judge, I guess, ruled, no, you can't do continuous, you can't name new interim U.S. attorneys every 120 days for this position. If I'm understanding this right. I know this is getting a bit into the weeds here. All right, let me take some comments from you guys. Let's see here. Hey, by the way, thanks to Hebrew Jerusalem Prince. Hebrew Jerusalem Prince thinks this is two major blows against the president and that these cases aren't going anywhere. That's what our viewer thinks. Big Mike Card says, such a waste of taxes and time. Joint Specialist thinks my interpretation of the general idea of the case based on the article is correct. I'm not sure about that, but I'll see if I can get more information for you. Nick Fuentes, our viewer, says, the dismissal on a technicality doesn't make their actions any less criminal. This is not a ruling on the criminality or lack thereof that they are accused of in these indictments. This is a procedural rejection of the indictments. Soccer fan Machado says, why wasn't Siebert confirmed? So, I forget the timing, but without knowing exactly, without going back and doing lots of research, it looks like maybe what got in the way of Siebert being confirmed is that, you can see there's reporting cited here, and there's other reporting suggesting that the Trump administration presented him to resign or be fired because he would not bring criminal charges against people like Comey and Letitia James. Dingus Khan says, we love to lose bigly in court over and over again, don't we, folks? Sean says, imagine being happy and celebrating that the FBI isn't being held accountable. What is wrong with people? Okay, let's see here. Thomas Darwin thinks they didn't commit any crimes. All right, let me see. Still waiting for a comment from President Trump about this. Our viewer, John Reed, thinks that Pam Bondi should be fired. I have not seen anything from President Trump yet. I have not seen anything from Pam Bondi yet about this. Hopefully we can get you comments from them. One of my followers on X said, I'll keep the name anonymous because I don't know if that person wanted me to read their comment on the air, so I'll just keep it anonymous. One of my followers on X replied to my repost about this story by saying, he believes they can't even get a real lawyer to take up the case. Nobody will touch this. Again, I would have to imagine President Trump is not going to be happy about this. I don't know if there's any part of sometimes these rulings can be very technically written. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to make any sense of this if I'm just kind of reading through it. There's different parts to this ruling. Let's see here. The judge says, I agree with Mr. Comey that the Attorney General's attempt to install Ms. Halligan as interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia was invalid. And because Ms. Halligan had no lawful authority to present the indictment, I will grant Mr. Comey's motion and dismiss the indictment without prejudice, meaning it could be brought again by a different prosecutor. Yes, so in January, the Attorney General had appointed Eric Siebert as interim U.S. Attorney. That's a 120-day appointment, which expired in May. And then the judges of the district exercised their authority in May to appoint him to continue his role. On September 19th, he resigned reportedly under pressure from the Trump administration. According to news reports, Siebert had recently expressed concerns to senior Department of Justice officials about the validity of pursuing charges against Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James. This is the court ruling I'm reading. Siebert's resignation came hours after President Trump told reporters at the White House he wanted Siebert out. The next day, President Trump posted and later deleted the following message on his Truth Social. This is where he said, Pam, I have reviewed over 30 statements and posts saying that essentially same old story as last time, all talk, no action. Nothing is being done. What about Comey, Adam Schiff, Letitia? They're all guilty as hell, but nothing is going to be done. And then later he said, he talks about the U.S. attorney in Virginia. He said, he even lied to the media and said he quit, that we had no case. No, I fired him, and there is a great case, and many lawyers and legal pundits say so. Lindsey Halligan is a really good lawyer and likes you a lot. We can't delay any longer. It's killing our reputation and credibility. They impeached me twice and indicted me 5 times over nothing. Justice must be served now. President DJT. Less than 48 hours after Trump's post, the Attorney General issued an order authorizing Lindsey Halligan to be interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. Then 3 days later, a grand jury returned a 2-count indictment against James Comey. Miss Halligan was the only prosecutor who participated in the government's presentation to the grand jury, and only her signature appears on Mr. Comey's indictment. Okay. I really want to see what President Trump has to say about this. What is President Trump going to say about this? Speaking of prosecution, when I have a second, I'm going to update you on the Mark Kelly situation. Our viewer Uxtalazone says Comey can't be charged again because the statute of limitations ran out, right? No. So there was a statute of limitation 5 years under which the charges that were brought against Comey, I forget if it was one or multiple, could be brought. They were originally brought before the statute of limitation was up. After the charges were brought, the statute of limitation has run out. But according to the New York Times, in a case like this, where the case is thrown out for this particular reason, that the prosecutor is ruled illegally appointed, invalidly appointed, the prosecution, the government has 6 months to rebring the charges with a different prosecutor. So from what the New York Times says, the statute of limitations does not apply here. Now, I don't know if the Comey legal team will try to have some argument why it should apply. Maybe they'll have a different legal take on this. That was what the New York Times said was the case. Nothing yet from President Trump. Maybe we'll do a quick poll. The poll is going to be, will the DOJ refile these charges against Comey and James? They would have to have another prosecutor do it, unless they could get, I guess, Halligan confirmed. If they could get Halligan confirmed, she could do it, I guess. Excuse me. So I'm going to put this in the chat right now. Okay. I can't do it on Facebook because they haven't fixed the polls yet. So let's see what you guys say. Will these charges be refiled? Over there on YouTube, we have 69% say yes and 31% say no. How about on Twitch? Oopsie. You'll see it in a second. "67% say yes on Twitch and 33% say no. 33 Eyes thinks they're going to be refiled in 2 weeks. Renee thinks Halligan should be disbarred. Game Craze says big waste of time. No, it was dismissed without, Smedley, it was dismissed without prejudice, so charges can be refiled. Infected says Trump wouldn't miss a chance to go after his enemies. Mobius says, of course they will. Revenge is everything for Trump. Wow. Ginny says, of course they will refile. The king will command it. Wow. A number of you think they're going to refile. Most of you think they're going to refile, according to the poll and in the chat. Sarah Kessler thinks Trump made his opinion known and is moving on to important issues and leaving damages in the wake. So it sounds like Sarah thinks they will not refile. But most of you think they will. All right, hang on a second here. Shirley Levasseur thinks they will try and fail again. Something else to keep in mind. It's possible that a judge will rule that the cases should be dismissed for a different reason. Remember, both Comey and James, for example, both of their legal teams have asked for this case to be, the case against them to be dismissed because of vindictive prosecution. Now, I'm not a legal expert on all that, but if, for example, that is granted, then you'll have a second reason to dismiss, which I guess, and I don't know if that could be dismissed with prejudice, which means the cases couldn't be refiled. So I have no idea how this is going to all play out. But again, there could be further rulings that the cases are dismissed for other reasons. We just don't know yet. Thomas Darwin thinks the case will be refiled and dismissed again. All right, let me see here. When do you guys think Trump will comment on this? What do you think about this? Is it interesting that we haven't heard anything from any... I've heard no statement from the White House and no statement from the Department of Justice. Not a peep. No peeps. So I believe this news first came out, if I have it right, this news first broke about an hour and 45 minutes ago. An hour and 45 minutes ago is roughly when this news first broke. And we have still not heard any comment from the Department of Justice or President Trump. So when do you think we will hear something? This afternoon presser? Is there a presser set for this afternoon? I don't see one set for this afternoon. Now, I'd be interested if they called a presser. Now, let me say this. President Trump also is going to be signing an executive order in about 90 minutes. Now, that was supposed to be closed press, but could that open up? I mean, they could change it and have cameras come in and President Trump could comment upon it then. On the schedule, it says closed press. Leslie Ladyhawk thinks it'll be in an hour. Okay. So I would love to get you guys, nothing on True Social right now, nothing. Also, how big a deal is this in in the White House today? Is it like, oh, we're dealing with other stuff, we'll deal with this later? Or is President Trump like, is this the big topic of discussion there? That I also don't know. I mean, obviously there's other things going on. So I don't have a feeling for how much Trump is focused on this ruling right now. Our viewer Stella Blue thinks Stephen Miller is likely working on the propaganda to be released as we speak. Our viewer Shireen Marshall thinks if he doesn't talk about it, he will pretend it never happened. Hey, thanks Elijah for your support. Elijah H-A-I-Y. Thank you, Captain Givens. Thank you, Janet B, for the membership. Thanks, Melody CJ, for the membership. Thanks, It's Game Over, for your support. And Nick Fuentes for your support. I really appreciate it. It's Game Over says, do you care if these people committed crimes, or are crimes okay as long as Trump doesn't like the person? Thank you also, Art Garden Food Expressions, for your support, and General Junobi for your support. General Junobi talked about possible House Republican resignations. I don't want to get too sidetracked on that right now. But I'll mention it real quick. Also, thanks, It's Game Over, for your previous support today, who said more brain-diseased or smooth righties and lefties wasting more of our tax dollars to fight for their side instead of the people or the country. Wow. Also, thanks, Captain Givens, for being a member. Yeah, so real quick, I do want to mention that our viewer mentioned it. Jake Sherman, I believe it was, of Punchbowl News, he reported today that there are other Republicans in Congress who are considering resigning in the middle of the term, like Marjorie Taylor Greene did. Now, a reason that's quite important is the margin of votes, the current balance of power in the House is quite slim for the Republicans. So, each vote can matter. You can have a vote where it only passes by one vote. The current party breakdown is, in the House, is 219, 213 for Republicans, but Marjorie Taylor Greene's going to leave, but they'll have a special election. But for at least, I think, a couple of months, maybe, her seat will be empty. And there's some special elections, I believe, that are going to happen and soon. But, if some other Republicans were to resign and it took time to replace them, even if a Republican won the special election to fill their seat, that could impact votes in the House. So we'll have to see what happens with that, if there are other Republican resignations. Okay, we're waiting for some response from the White House or the Department of Justice to say something about this ruling where a federal judge has dismissed the cases against James Comey and Letitia James. This news came out almost 2 hours ago, and I have yet to see any comment from the White House or Department of Justice. Mad Mike thinks Bondi should resign. Another question I have. Did President Trump think that this ruling could happen? Or was President Trump shocked by this ruling? And is he blaming someone for this ruling? Right? I don't know. Maybe President Trump figured this might happen. But if he didn't, if he's shocked by it, could he be really upset at somebody in particular? I have no idea. Battle Stove thinks no doubt he's mad. Can they appeal? Yes, they are expected to appeal, although I don't know what the likelihood of them winning an appeal is. Brett thinks he's going to call it another Democrat hoax. Inforabit says it was a shot in the dark for Trump. Larry Martinez says maybe that may be the reason why we haven't heard anything yet. Well, that is something I was thinking of, is have we not heard anything yet? Because you could imagine a world in which we haven't heard anything yet because this is not a big deal, that there's other things that are being prioritized today in the White House. But you could also imagine we haven't heard anything yet because it's an enormous deal. And who knows what's going on there. Maybe somebody's getting yelled at or whatever. I don't know if either of those is the case. But it's interesting we don't even have something from like Pam Bondi yet saying this is a terrible ruling or whatever. Hold on a second here. I have something else I wanted to mention. AP is reporting Justice Department renews bid to unseal Jeffrey Epstein materials. The Justice Department renewed its request today to unseal Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking grand jury materials, saying Congress made clear in approving the release of investigative materials related to production of the late financier that documents such as the court record should be released. Wasn't it a couple months ago when President Trump's Department of Justice ordered these grand jury materials be released, but I believe it was ruled they could not be released because of the nature of the material, because they were grand jury materials? And so I guess they're saying something like, well, it's different now that that law has passed. The Epstein Files Transparency Act. I have no idea legally if that law makes a difference here. So I'm not a lawyer. I'm just passing this along. This is just coming out. Mike Rivers thinks we will never see the Epi files. All right, let's talk a little more about this ruling today, and maybe we'll get a statement soon from President Trump. I was thinking maybe we would even get an appearance on camera from President Trump or Pam Bondi or somebody about this ruling. Thanks, Jonathan Manson, who mentions a dismissal without prejudice means that it can be brought. I think, Jonathan, you're saying the case can be brought again. That's true. Yes. Hold on, let me show you here. Dismissal without prejudice means, hold on, let me just, AP says if the case was dismissed with prejudice, that would mean the Justice Department could not file charges again. But the judge instead dismissed the charges without prejudice. Okay, let me read you some more background on this, and we'll wait to see if we get comment from Trump. U.S. judge tosses case against FBI Chief Comey, New York Attorney General James. This is from Reuters. A federal judge today dismissed criminal charges against two perceived adversaries of President Trump, former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, ruling that the U.S. attorney he handpicked to prosecute them was unlawfully appointed. The ruling throws out two cases Trump had publicly called for as he pressured Justice Department leaders to move against high-profile figures who had criticized him and led investigations into his conduct. Now, I also wonder, when President Trump called for Halligan to be appointed to this position, did people in the Justice Department tell him, well, if we do this and she brings the charges, there's a decent chance the case will get thrown out because it's likely that it'll be ruled she's an illegal appointment. Did he get that heads up from people around him? If so, was he like, I don't care, do it anyway? Or did he? So again, I don't know how much of a surprise this ruling is today for Trump. Lindsey Halligan, a former personal employer to Trump, was named interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia in September to take over both investigations despite having no previous prosecutorial experience. The filings by the judge come after Comey and James accused the Trump administration of violating the U.S. Constitution's Appointments Clause and federal law by appointing Halligan in September. The judge found that Halligan had no legal authority to bring indictments against Comey or James, but Curry dismissed the cases without prejudice, giving the Justice Department an opportunity to refile the cases with a different prosecutor at the helm. And as I mentioned, Letitia James said, I am heartened by today's victory and grateful for the prayers and support I have received from around the country. Her attorney, Abby Lowell, said James would continue to challenge any further politically motivated charges through every lawful means available. A lawyer for Comey and a spokesman for the Justice Department did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Trump ordered Pam Bondi to install Halligan to the post after her predecessor, Eric Siebert, declined to pursue charges against Comey or James, citing a lack of credible evidence in both cases. Shortly after her appointment, Halligan alone secured indictments against Comey and James after other career prosecutors in the office refused to participate. I believe the Washington Post article said that Halligan was the only one, I believe, who signed the indictment. Or is that the AP article? Or a different article? I believe Halligan was the only one who signed the indictment and the only one who brought the cases in the grand jury. Yes. Sorry. Halligan was the sole signer of the indictments, says AP. I think she might have been the only one leading things in the grand jury, but I got to double check that. She did take both cases before the grand jury. I know that. Let me just see here. Is there anything I want to point out in this article? Comey had pleaded not guilty to charges of making false statements and obstructing Congress. James had pleaded not guilty to charges of bank fraud and lying to a financial institution. Attorneys for Comey and James argued that Halligan's appointment violated a federal law that they said limits the appointment of an interim U.S. attorney to 100-day stint. Remember, Eric Siebert had already been appointed by the Trump administration as the interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of New York for 120 days. So this would be the second consecutive appointment of an interim attorney, U.S. attorney for that seat. Repeated interim appointments would bypass the U.S. Senate confirmation process and let a prosecutor serve indefinitely, said Comey and James's lawyers. Siebert had previously been appointed by Bondi for 120 days and was then reappointed by the U.S. District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia since the Senate had not yet confirmed him in the role. Lawyers for the Justice Department had argued that the law allows the Attorney General to make multiple interim appointments of U.S. attorneys. Still, Bondi sought to shore up the cases by separately installing Halligan as a special attorney to both prosecutions. In that same document, she also said she ratified the indictments. And again, as we said, the challenge to Halligan's appointment was one of several efforts that lawyers for James Comey and Letitia James have made to the cases against them to have the cases thrown out before trials. Both argued that the cases are vindictive prosecutions motivated by Trump's animosity. That has not been ruled on yet. Oh, the Assistant Attorney General just tweeted? Hold on a second. Somebody posted about this? Did Todd Blanche post about it? Hold on. Did Bondi post about it? I don't see Bondi. I don't see Blanche. One of our viewers said someone posted about this. Maybe somebody messaged me about this. Let's see. Hold on a second here. Oh, I have another update here too about something else that I'm going to tell you in a second. Oh, Comey put out a video. Hold on, Comey put out a video. I just saw this myself. Thank you, AFTV Community on X for mentioning this. We have a video response from James Comey about the developments today. Look, it's a new video from James Comey about today's developments. Hold on, I'm going to play this for you. I need a second to get it on the screen. It's from James Comey. New video. Oh my gosh, he just posted it 19 minutes ago. Let's see what James Comey had to say about this. I haven't watched it yet. There's James Comey. How do I refresh this? I'm trying to make it bigger. Hold on a second here. Get this on the screen for you. Hang on a moment here. I know the volume isn't on. I'm going to refresh this if I can. I want to get it at the start. Let's try this one more time. Let me get it at the start for you. It's a little difficult to get everything. All right, hold on. Okay, I got it queued up. Here it is. Let's watch James Comey, his response to the ruling today, dismissing his case, at least for the time being, dismissing the case against him by the Trump administration. Here it is. Here is James Comey.
I'm grateful that the court ended the case against me, which was a prosecution based on malevolence and incompetence, and a reflection of what the Department of Justice has become under Donald Trump, which is heartbreaking. But I was also inspired by the example of the career people who refused to be part of this travesty. It cost some of them their jobs, which is painful, but it preserved their integrity, which is beyond price. And I know they will serve again. I was very lucky that some of the best lawyers in America stepped forward to represent me. I hope they serve as an example to more and more lawyers, especially at some of the big firms, to participate in protecting our liberty, protecting the rule of law. And my family and friends were always with me, and luckily for me, include some of those great lawyers. This case mattered to me personally, obviously, but it matters most because a message has to be sent that the President of the United States cannot use the Department of Justice to target his political enemies. I don't care what your politics are, you have to see that as fundamentally un-American and a threat to the rule of law that keeps all of us free. I know that Donald Trump will probably come after me again, and my attitude is going to be the same. I'm innocent, I am not afraid, and I believe in an independent federal judiciary, the gift from our founders that protects us from a would-be tyrant. When I was a kid, my parents would wake us up for school every morning by snapping open the shades and saying, "Time to rise and shine and show the world what you're made of." Well, it's that time, America. It's time to stand up and show the fools who would frighten us, who would divide us, that we're made of stronger stuff, that we believe in the rule of law, that we believe in the importance of doing things by the law. So stand tall, shine, and keep the faith. I'm grateful that the court ended the case against me, which was a prosecution based on malevolence and incompetence, and a reflection of what the Department of Justice has become under Donald Trump, which is heartbreaking. But I was also inspired by the example of the career people who refused to be part of this travesty. It cost some of them their...
Okay. It repeated. So, yeah, sorry about that. You heard Comey make his statement there. And then I was also told, I was told that there's also a comment from somebody in the Department of Justice. So give me a second. Let me pull that up. Hold on a moment here. Now, this is interesting. So, a number of articles say that that the Justice Department is expected to appeal this ruling, and also that they could refile the case if they wanted to. Now, Kyle Cheney, who's with Politico, he says that he thinks that the judge's ruling makes it so that Comey can't be reindicted. I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to necessarily. I don't know the meaning. I can't say what all of this means. But Kyle Cheney with Politico pointed to this part of the ruling, and it's where it says here, this here. It says, oops, hold on. The Attorney General's attempt to ratify Mr. Comey's indictment on October 31st came too late in the day to be effective, as the statute of limitations for the charged offenses expired 31 days earlier on September 30th. I can't look at that and tell whether that means the case can't be brought again against Comey. That's what the legal correspondent for Politico thinks. I don't know. Okay, but I'm passing that along. And then where is, again, I was told there was a post by somebody in the Department of Justice. Nothing from President Trump yet that I've seen. Hang on one moment here. Pam Bondi posted, but not about this. She didn't post about this. Pam Bondi just posted and said, the Justice Department took decisive action to protect a Second Amendment by filing a brief in the Supreme Court challenging a Hawaii state law that effectively bans public carry. I'm not going to worry about this right now. So she posted about this. She hasn't posted about the Letitia James and James Comey ruling. Hang on. Oh, is this it? Stephen Rules sent me this. Yes, this is Assistant Attorney General Harmeet Dillon, who's with the Justice Department, and she posted without prejudice. So, again, without prejudice means, we've mentioned this repeatedly on the broadcast. The cases were dismissed without prejudice, which means in theory they could be refiled by the Justice Department. So she said this without much commentary. All right, still nothing from the White House about this. Nothing from President Trump. Nothing about the White House. What is the White House going to say about this? I do not know. I'd like to get that. I'd like to get that for you. Let me read some more comments here. Our viewer Tace Vim says so much winning. Take your power back thinks Democrats are so corrupt. Soccer fan Machado thinks Trump tried to bypass Senate confirmation with this appointment. Thomas Darwin says, I think Pam is on the way out. Is there any world in which this ruling gets Trump very upset at Pam Bondi? Desolate Misanthrope, our viewer, thinks Trump is pacing the hallways yelling at peeps. JD63 says, I hope we see Halligan disbarred. The Great Snafu thinks they got away with it now because Trump was not smart enough to appoint a competent person to prosecute them. Karen Renierson thinks Comey is a criminal. All right. When are we getting? We have to get some sort of response from the White House soon. Am I crazy? I mean, it's this news came out, guys, I think 2.5 hours ago, and there's no comment from Trump. Maybe we'll watch that Comey response. We only watched it once. Maybe we'll watch his response one more time. James Comey. All right, here again is what James Comey had to say about this in his statement.
I'm grateful that the court ended the case against me, which was a prosecution based on malevolence and incompetence, and a reflection of what the Department of Justice has become under Donald Trump, which is heartbreaking. But I was also inspired by the example of the career people who refused to be part of this travesty. It cost some of them their jobs, which is painful, but it preserved their integrity, which is beyond price. And I know they will serve again. I was very lucky that some of the best lawyers in America stepped forward to represent me. I hope they serve as an example to more and more lawyers, especially at some of the big firms, to participate in protecting our liberty, protecting the rule of law. And my family and friends were always with me, and luckily for me, include some of those great lawyers. This case mattered to me personally, obviously, but it matters most because a message has to be sent that the President of the United States cannot use the Department of Justice to target his political enemies. I don't care what your politics are, you have to see that as fundamentally un-American and a threat to the rule of law that keeps all of us free. I know that Donald Trump will probably come after me again, and my attitude is going to be the same. I'm innocent, I am not afraid, and I believe in an independent federal judiciary, the gift from our founders that protects us from a would-be tyrant. When I was a kid, my parents would wake us up for school every morning by snapping open the shades and saying, "Time to rise and shine and show the world what you're made of." Well, it's that time, America. It's time to stand up and show the fools who would frighten us, who would divide us, that we're made of stronger stuff, that we believe in the rule of law, that we believe in the importance of doing things by the law. So stand tall, shine, and keep the faith. I'm grateful that.
All right, so James Comey said he thinks Trump will come after him again. He thinks Trump will come after him again. Hey, thanks, Delta Force. Yeah, I'm going to mention that in a second, Delta Force. Thanks for your support, Delta Force. Dave Temecula thinks the Supreme Court will overturn this ruling. Larry Martinez thinks maybe we'll hear from President Trump in the morning once things are properly processed. Do you think it'll take that long for President Trump to speak out about this ruling? I mean, maybe it will. I don't know. I'm surprised we haven't heard anything from the White House. How about any of the people who work in the White House? Also, nothing really from the Department of Justice. Just one assistant attorney general just posted a 2-word post that said, without prejudice. That's it. Yeah, so another thing pointed out, I think a viewer was talking about this too. Where is it here? Molly Roberts, who I follow, she is with Lawfare. She points out that in this footnote from the ruling, it says, an invalid indictment cannot serve to block the door of limitations as it swings closed. So remember, James Comey had to be charged within a certain amount of time, 5 years, for what he was charged with. And he was charged he was indicted just before that 5 years ran out. And since he was charged, the 5 years has run out. So there's this question, if the case is dismissed now, can a new prosecutor charge him with the same crimes since it's now outside the statute of limitations? Now, as I mentioned, the New York Times wrote today that they could do that. Molly Roberts, who's with Lawfare, thinks that this, and also I believe Kyle Cheney with Politico thinks this ruling, the way it's written, suggests that this judge thinks that the statute of limitations is up and Comey cannot be recharged. That could be something that ends up in court as well. The case of whether Comey can be recharged, even if the ruling stands and the case is thrown out, maybe there'll be a different court ruling on whether he can be charged again. I don't know. We'll have to see. Oh, I was going to mention the Mark Kelly thing while we were waiting to see if President Trump would comment on this. Will we get a comment from President Trump? Guys, will we get a comment from President Trump? While we're on the air. I mean, eventually we will. I am looking at this. There's a 4 p.m. Trump executive order signing. You can see here, Pentagon says it's investigating Senator Mark Kelly over video urging troops to defy illegal orders. So this happened today as well. The Pentagon announced today it is investigating Democratic Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona over possible breaches of military law after the former Navy pilot joined a handful of other lawmakers in a video that called for troops to defy illegal orders. It's extraordinary for the Pentagon, which until Trump's second term had usually gone out of its way to act and appear apolitical, not political, to directly threaten a sitting member of Congress with an investigation. It comes after Trump ramped up the rhetoric by accusing the lawmakers of sedition punishable by death in a social media post days after the video was released last week. So here's what the Pentagon had to say today. The Department of War has received serious allegations of misconduct against Captain Mark Kelly, U.S. Navy retired, in accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice 10 U.S.C. 688 and other applicable regulations. A thorough review of these allegations has been initiated to determine further actions, which may include recall to active duty for court-martial proceedings or administrative measures. This matter will be handled in compliance with military law, ensuring due process and impartiality. Further official comments will be limited to preserve the integrity of the proceedings. The Department of War reminds all individuals that military retirees remain subject to the UCMJ for applicable offenses, and federal laws such as that law prohibit actions intended to interfere with the loyalty, morale, or good order and discipline of armed forces. Any violations will be addressed through appropriate legal channels. All service members are reminded they have a legal obligation to obey lawful orders and that orders are presumed to be lawful. A service member's personal philosophy does not justify or excuse the disobedience of an otherwise lawful order. Now, Mark Kelly actually responded to this, just so you can see this. Mark Kelly wrote, "When I was 22 years old, I commissioned as an ensign? I never say this word out loud. Is that word ensign? How do you say it? Ensign, not ensign, ensign. Oh, the Webster's dictionary says either ensign or ensign. Anyways, I guess ensign is the more popular saying. Ensign. All right, let me go back to what he said. He said, when I was 22 years old, I commissioned as an ensign in the U.S. Navy and swore an oath to the Constitution. I upheld that oath through flight school, multiple deployments on the USS Midway, 39 combat missions in Operation Desert Storm, test pilot school, 4 space shuttle flights at NASA, and every day since I retired, which I did after my wife Gabby was shot in the head while serving her constituents. In combat, I had a missile blow up next to my jet and flew through anti-aircraft fire to drop bombs on enemy targets. At NASA, I launched on a rocket, commanded the space shuttle, and was part of the recovery mission that brought home the bodies of my astronaut classmates who died on Columbia. I did all of this in the service of this country, to this country that I love and has given me so much." Secretary Hegseth's tweet, well, I'm going to show you the tweet in a second about, I guess, him being possibly charged, is the first I heard of this. I also saw the president's post saying I should be arrested, hanged, and put to death. If this is meant to intimidate me and other members of Congress from doing our jobs and holding this administration accountable, it won't work. I've given too much to this country to be silenced by bullies who care more about their own power than protecting the Constitution. He posted that about an hour and a half ago. Regarding Hegseth's post, which he referred to, Pete Hegseth said today about Senator Kelly, hold on, he said, He posted the Pentagon statement that I showed you, and Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, said the video made by the seditious six was despicable, reckless, and false. Encouraging our warriors to ignore the orders of their commanders undermines every aspect of good order and discipline. Their foolish screed sows doubt and confusion, which only puts our warriors in danger. 5 of the 6 individuals of that video do not follow under Department of War jurisdiction. 1 is CIA and 4 are former military but not retired, so they are no longer subject to UCMJ. However, Mark Kelly, retired Navy commander, is still subject to UCMJ, and he knows that. As was announced, the department is reviewing his statements and actions, which were addressed directly to all troops, while explicitly using his rank and service affiliation, lending the appearance of authority to his words. Kelly's conduct brings discredit upon the armed forces and will be addressed appropriately. So that is going on as well. Just to give you an update. Hold on a moment here. Does the video, I can't remember, does it have music on it? I have to find it here. I don't remember. And I can't play the music. I was going to maybe play it for you, but I can't play it with music.
Some of my colleagues.
Trying to find the original post. I can't. Well, I'm not going to worry about it right now. And still nothing from President Trump, by the way. This video was posted originally several days ago, right? Here it is. I have the video right here. Hold on, hold on. Does it have music?
I want to speak directly to members of the military.
Yeah, it has music. But what I can do is I can show you here. I can show you what the video says. This is the video that was posted on Senator Alyssa Slotkin's Facebook page. You can see right here. And it says, I'll just show you, I think it has captions on it. So the original video said, I'm Senator Mark Kelly, Representative Chris DeLuzio, Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander, Congressman Jason Crow, Representative Chrissy Houlihan, and Senator Alyssa Slotkin. Oh, maybe I can hit play and then with the volume off. They say former CIA officer, former Navy, former paratrooper and Army Ranger, former intelligence officer, former Air Force. We want to speak directly to members of the military and the intelligence community who take risks each day to keep Americans safe. We know you are under enormous pressure and stress right now. Americans trust their military, but trust is at risk. The administration is pitting our uniformed military and intelligence community professionals against American citizens. Like us, you all swore an oath to protect and defend this Constitution right now. And the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad, but from right here at home. Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders. You can refuse illegal orders. You must refuse illegal orders. No one has to carry out orders that violate the law or our Constitution. We know this is hard and that it's a difficult time to be a public servant, but whether you're serving in the CIA, the Army, our Navy, the Air Force, your vigilance is critical. And know that we have your back, because now more than ever, the American people need you. We need you to stand up for our laws, our Constitution, and who we are as Americans. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up the ship. All right. So that was the video in question. That was the video in question. And that was the one that President Trump angrily commented about that on his social media. If I can pull that up. He's posted several times about it. He's reposted a bunch of things about it. Here, look. So, for example, right here. Many great legal scholars agree that the Democrat traitors that told the military to disobey my orders as president have committed a crime of serious proportion. The traitors that told the military to disobey my orders should be in jail right now, not roaming the fake news networks, trying to explain that what they said was okay. It wasn't and never will be. It was sedition at the highest level, and sedition is a major crime. There can be no other interpretation of what they said. That's just an example. He's posted other stuff about it as well. All right, hang on a moment. So I wanted to talk about that for a second, even though we came on the air to talk about this ruling. Are we going to get a comment from President Trump on this ruling? Guys? Oh, hold on. I just saw Levitt gaggle. Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. There may be a gaggle. There may be a press secretary gaggle. Do I have video of this? I don't see it, but maybe we'll at least get a word from the press secretary. So, the White House press pool says Press Secretary Levitt is doing a Fox News hit and then expected to gaggle. Reporters are now gathering at the sticks. So we shortly could get a comment from a gaggle is like an appearance in front of the press where questions are being taken. But it's not like a press. It's I believe it's off camera actually, off camera briefing. It's an informal press briefing, says Wikipedia, an informal press briefing. So yes, so that's happening too. So we'll let you know what happens with that. Give me a second here. Give me one moment. Hang on, I'm seeing if any of the. Hold on. Give me one moment here. Give me one moment. Give me one moment. Seeing if I can get video of it here. because I'm guessing she's going to talk about this. I don't think it was planned. Oh, you know what might happen also? You know what? Now, you know what might happen is, well, we'll see. Give me a second here. So again, let me turn on Fox News too here. Because I guess she's supposed to do a Fox News hit. Maybe she's going to do it at the top of the hour. I have to pull it up here and see if she's on already. But maybe she's going to do the top of the hour. Hang on, I got to put all my TV channels on. Multi-view. I mean, obviously, we want to get a White House comment on this ruling. Why can't I pull this up? What's happening? There it is. So there's supposed to be some statement soon from the press secretary. Fox News is in a commercial. So we're bringing you live coverage that hold on a second here. A federal judge has thrown out the cases against James Comey and Letitia James, saying that the Trump-appointed prosecutor Lindsey Halligan was illegally appointed. Oh, I just saw another. I just saw more news. Multiple reporters are now reporting that the Trump White House is delaying a health care plan announcement. There was reporting saying Trump was going to announce maybe as soon as today some sort of health plan, I believe, to preserve at least part of the expiring Obamacare subsidies. But now reportedly that is being postponed. Now, where is that? Where did I see the original report about it being postponed? I just saw a second report about it being postponed. Yes, Jake Traylor of MS Now, formerly MSNBC, reported that the White House would delay their health care proposal after congressional backlash. Jake Traylor said, according to two White House officials, the announcement has been delayed, with one of them citing strong congressional backlash. Trump had planned to make an announcement as early as today, proposing a framework to address healthcare costs, including an extension of Obamacare subsidies. And by the way, Lisa Desjardins of PBS is also reporting the same report now. Lisa Desjardins of PBS says that she says the Trump White House is delaying an announcement on a health care plan, will not be this week. She said Republican members of Congress were upset at being left out of any process in this. Reuters, I asked Reuters about the gaggle that supposedly is going to happen soon, and with the press secretary, and Reuters told me at this point it is still closed. So we're waiting for a comment. Obviously, I'd love to get you guys a comment from President Trump about this ruling that where a judge has thrown out these cases against Comey and Letitia James. Now, it's from what I understand, it's possible that these cases could be refiled once there's a new prosecutor. Although it's unclear whether the Comey the statute of limitations would prevent that with the Comey case. Also, reportedly, the White House is going to appeal this ruling. I don't know what the chances of them being successful is. But we have not gotten an official statement from Trump or the White House about this. So I really, given that we're covering this, want to get you that. And I don't know. But to repeat, as I said before, in 39 minutes, Trump is supposed to do an executive order signing. Now, that originally was not supposed to be on camera. However, I would not be surprised if Trump appears on camera signing whatever executive order that is and comments on this ruling. Okay, so trying to get you guys more information here. I'm doing my best. Thanks again to our moderators, Ruth, Janet B. I'm going to read some more comments from you guys. Ruth and Janet B. Idaho Star, I Got That Fire. Matthew Kohai 3. Sarah, thank you, over there on Twitch. Riff Tracks. Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha on X. Margaret Riley, Kay Lowry Body on Facebook. And thanks to Chuck Mosca for subscribing. I really appreciate that. And thanks to Toolman Tim for your support on Twitch and TechSlug for your support on Twitch. Thank you. Thanks Gleggy for subscribing on Twitch. Thanks also to Wolf Live. Wolf Live says the military stopped being apolitical once Joe Biden expelled and prosecuted members for refusing vaccine mandate. Pandora's box is open, needs to be shut. That's from Wolf Live. Wolf Live, thanks for your support. Wolf Live also thinks that President Trump's team warned him about the possibility of this kind of ruling. He thinks that they want to go to Supreme Court and get it overturned to expand executive power. Unitary executive theory, same old playbook. That's what Wolf Live thinks. Thanks, Wolf Live, for your support. Thanks also, Queen of the South, for being a member for 52 months. And Mr. Hammond for being a member for 22 months. Mr. Hammond says, if it looks like fascism and sounds like fascism. Still nothing from the White House. Nothing from President Trump that I have seen yet. I'm still looking. I don't see anything. Let me just go over what's going on just for people who just tuned in, because we've been on for a little while. Right here. Actually, I have a couple things here. Hold on. Hang on. Oopsie. Obviously, that's not right. Judge dismisses Comey and Letitia James indictments after finding that prosecutor was illegally appointed. A federal judge today dismissed the criminal cases against James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James, concluding that the prosecutor who brought the charges at President Trump's urging was illegally appointed by the Justice Department. That is from AP. The rulings halt, at least for now, a pair of prosecutions that had targeted two of the president's most high-profile political opponents and amount to what AP calls a stunning rebuke of the Trump administration's legal maneuvering to install an inexperienced and loyalist prosecutor willing to file cases. The orders do not concern the substance of the allegations against Comey or James, but instead deal with the unconventional manner in which the prosecutor, Lindsey Halligan, was named to her position as interim U.S. Attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. Defense lawyers said the Trump administration had no legal authority to make the appointment. In a pair of similar rulings, Curry agreed and said the invalid appointment required the dismissal of the cases. The basic legal issue, as I understand it, is that the Trump administration had already appointed a U.S. attorney, an interim U.S. attorney in this district. And he then was forced out of his job, reportedly after not wanting to bring these cases. And then the Trump administration appointed Lindsey Halligan as the second consecutive interim U.S. attorney appointment. And the ruling, as I understand it, says that you cannot, a presidential administration cannot repeatedly just keep appointing new interim U.S. attorneys for the same position. The idea being if they could do that, then, because the U.S. attorney appointments are supposed to be confirmed by the Senate, but if every 120 days you could appoint a new one to be the interim one, which doesn't require Senate approval, the idea would be that you would never need to actually get the position approved by the Senate because you could keep appointing new ones. At least that's how I understand the general idea of the legal ruling. But in theory, because the case was dismissed without prejudice, the charges could be brought again. However, with Comey, it's unclear because the statute of limitations on the charges against him have run out since the original indictment, but there's this question as to whether they could still bring that case anyway. Okay. A bunch of people talking about Venezuela in our chat. We're not going to talk about it on this stream. As we've been reporting for months, it's possible that there will be U.S. military action in Venezuela. If there's huge developments, I'll let you know. Maybe we'll do a different stream on that at some point. But some people in the chat said there are planes on flight radar, U.S. planes flying towards Venezuela. Numerous times in recent months, the U.S. has flown military planes near Venezuela again and again and again. They've done it with bombers repeatedly. So that alone does not mean an attack is going to happen today. That has been a regular occurrence. But I'm certainly on the lookout for that, and maybe we'll do a separate stream on it. But again, we'll have to see what happens with that. In the meantime, by the way, hold on. I have video from the White House. I think it's about to start. Hold on. I got to get it up on the screen. I think we're about to hear from the press secretary. Give me a second. I'm getting it on the screen right now. Can I get it on the screen before it starts? Oh, no. Well, I can always... Hold on. Okay, I have it. I have it for you. I have it. Give me a second. It's right there. There it is. There she comes. It's the White House. There's no volume. Where's the volume? We'll have to replay with the volume. I don't have it muted. I'm hearing nothing on my end. Why don't they have the volume on? Well.
Out to the chain of command. And that for the chain of command, and that all lawful orders are presumed to be legal by our service members. You can't have a functioning military if there's disorder and chaos within the ranks, and that's what these Democrat members were encouraging. It's very clear, and not a single one of them, since they've been pressed by the media, and I'll give you guys credit for that, can point to a single illegal order that this administration has given down, because it does not exist. They knew what they were doing in this video, and Senator Mark Kelly and all of them should be held accountable for that. No, because Lindsey Halligan was legally appointed, and that's the administration's position. I know there was a judge who is clearly trying to shield Letitia James and James Comey from receiving accountability, and that's why they took this unprecedented action to throw away the indictments against these two individuals. But the Department of Justice will be appealing very soon, and it is our position that Lindsey Halligan is extremely qualified for this position, but more importantly, was legally appointed to it. Steve.
Reaction to those indictments being thrown out?
Is President Zelensky come to the United States this week? Are there a couple of points, you mentioned on the boxing, a couple of points?
Yeah. So there are no plans at this moment in time. As you know, things can change very quickly around here, so we'll keep you all apprised, but there's no meeting scheduled right now. As for where we are, I spoke with Secretary Rubio at length. I spoke with the president as well. Everybody inside feels optimistic about what happened and transpired yesterday in Geneva. Secretary Rubio, Special Envoy Witkoff, the whole team really worked through the points of that 28-point peace plan that the United States authored with input from both sides, the Russians and the Ukrainians. And ultimately, the vast majority of these points have been agreed upon. The Ukrainians have worked on language with us together, and you heard that from their delegation directly yesterday. So we feel as though we're in a very good place. Of course, we have to make sure that all of these points are agreed to, and then of course we're going to have to make sure the other party in this war, the Russians, agree to them as well. But I think the president deserves a great deal of credit for the amount of energy and effort he's put into trying to bring these two sides to an end of this war. He wants to see this killing stop. As for any deadlines, he wants to see this end as soon as possible.
Is the president more determined to go after Tish James and James Comey?
Go ahead.
Is the president more determined to go after Tish James and James Comey?
Excuse me. I'm answering a question from you.
You looked at me. I'm sorry.
I turned and looked at you because you're yelling. I will
That's
take
right.
a question
That's what
from
we
your
do as
colleague,
reporters.
and then I'll take your question
Thank
too.
you.
Okay? Go ahead.
What are exactly the points of this agreement that they are still working on?
I don't want to detail sort of the technical talks that are happening right now, but there are just a couple, and we're confident that we'll be able to work through those.
The president put pressure on Putin or Zelensky if this doesn't work.
The president's been putting a lot of pressure on both leaders for this entire time. We've been talking with both sides. He's been talking to both leaders directly for 10 months now. So yes, you can expect that pressure to continue. The president wants this war to end.
Caroline, is the president more determined now, since the judge's ruling today, to go after James Comey and Tish James, and if so, why?
I wouldn't say he's going after them. I think the president is more determined than ever to see accountability in this country, yes, and to correct the wrongs of the weaponization of our justice system that we saw under the previous administration and Joe Biden.
Venezuela. Are we entering a new phase of Venezuela, and what does that entail?
Well, as the president is so good at, I'll try to be just as good. I'm not going to broadcast any actions that may or may not be happening with respect to Venezuela. I know I've been very clear about the administration's position, as has the president and his national security team. We view the Maduro regime as being illegitimate, and the president has been very satisfied with the successful strikes against narco-terrorists and foreign terrorists that are illegally trafficking drugs towards the United States of America. He's not going to tolerate that, and you can expect to see those strikes continue.
What was President Trump's reaction to those indictments against Comey and James being thrown out?
His reaction was, we've seen this before. We've seen partisan judges take unprecedented steps to try to intervene in accountability before, but we're not going to give up. And I know that the Department of Justice intends to appeal these rulings very soon, if they haven't already. I may have missed it.
Caroline, one question on Venezuela. Is there any plan, meeting for this week on Venezuela? And another one, a clarification on this weekend, because the president was asked about the former Brazilian president being arrested, and he mentioned that he spoke with this gentleman. Did he speak with Bolsonaro the day before he was arrested?
Not to my knowledge. I don't know if that call took place or not. It may have. I can get you a firm answer on that, Raquel. I know it's of great importance to you for your reporting. As for meetings on Venezuela, there's meetings on a range of topics inside this building all of the time. And the president is constantly apprised of what's going on in the world, what's going on in the news, and he's very well written into all of the things that his team are working on.
Caroline, please. You would not go into the sticking points of the disagreement between the two parties in the Ukraine peace process, but how flexible is the president in coming to a deal, and will the Europeans be part of a final negotiation with Zelensky?
I think he's been quite flexible already. We've been watching this war go on for 10 months. He's talked to both leaders countless times. Our team has engaged with both the Russians and the Ukrainians extensively. As I said, there is a sense of urgency. The president wants to see this deal come together, and he wants to see this war end.
I wanted to ask you, is it MAGA to support American workers being replaced with H-1B visa holders? Are Americans not capable of filling most of these positions?
Who supports getting American workers getting replaced?
I know the president mentioned that he wanted to bring in some workers that he could eventually send back in regards to...
The president does not support American workers being replaced. You are mischaracterizing what the president said. The president wants to see our American manufacturing industry be revitalized better than ever before. That's part of what he's doing with his effective use of tariffs and cutting good trade deals around the world. That's why he's recruited trillions and trillions of dollars in investments into our country. Those are creating good paying American jobs right here at home. As for the H-1B visa issue, the president has a very nuanced and common sense opinion on this issue. He wants to see if foreign companies are investing trillions of dollars in the United States of America and they're bringing foreign workers with them to create very niche things like batteries. He wants to see that at the beginning to get those manufacturing facilities and those factories up and running. But ultimately, the president always wants to see American workers in those jobs. And he's told these foreign companies that are investing here, you better be hiring my people if you're going to be doing business in the United States. So there's been a lot of misunderstanding of the president's position. Michael.
Caroline, is President Trump asking for Xi Jinping's help and putting pressure on Putin to help end the war tonight?
I won't get into the details of the conversation this morning other than what the president put out on Truth Social. He put out his own readout of that, and I will leave it to that. But I did speak with him about the call. It lasted about an hour, and it was a very positive call. The focus of the call was really Russia-Ukraine did come up, but the focus was mainly on the trade deal that we are working on with China and those relations and how they are moving in a positive direction. The president also addressed our farmers, and we are pleased with what we've seen from the Chinese, and they feel the same way. And the president and President Xi discussed continuing to stay in correspondence following their very productive meeting in South Korea.
On Ukraine, does the progress that you just laid out change the Thanksgiving Day deadline for Ukraine to come to an agreement, or does the president still want something more definitive by Thursday? And then on the Comey and James case, does the president still have confidence in Lindsey Halligan?
Absolutely, he does, to your second question. As for your first question, with respect to the deadline, the president wants to see this deal come together as quickly as possible, and he trusts that his team is doing everything they can to get it over the finish line.
Does the president support Israel's elimination of Hezbollah chief of staff Ali Tabtai yesterday, and is he in favor of Israel blocking Hezbollah from growing again?
I haven't spoken to the president about that strike specifically, but of course the president supports Israel's right to defend itself and to take out any terrorist threats in the region. Jake?
If the president does announce a proposal to cut healthcare costs, will that include the extension of the subsidies?
I know there's been a lot of reporting on this from yourself as well, Jake, over the last few days. I will tell you that healthcare is a topic of discussion that's happening very frequently and robustly inside the West Wing right now. The president's very much involved in these talks, and he's very focused on unveiling a healthcare proposal that will fix the system and will bring down costs for consumers. As for the details of those discussions, I'll let the president speak for himself. As you all know, sometimes you report things and then President Trump comes out with an announcement, and those things are not always true from what you hear from sources inside the building. So I'll let the president speak for himself. Sure, go ahead, Kara.
President Trump said he still believes he's a fascist and a despot after they had such a great meeting. Any comment from the White House on that?
I think talk is cheap, and I think that the president is going to judge Mamdani by his actions that he takes to New York. The meeting was positive, as you heard from the president last week, and I think the fact that the president is willing to meet with somebody who said those types of things about him shows that he really is interested in being a president for all Americans, regardless of where they live or who their leader is. He wants what's best for New York. He loves New York City. He helped build the skyline. He spent his whole life there, and so he really wants to see New York do well. And so that's how that meeting played last week.
Caroline.
John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. There are a few Republican senators who are critical of the 28-point freeze plan, including Senator Rounds, Senator Graham, Senator McConnell. What do you say to those senators who say that this is giving too much away to Russia? And has Russia made any concessions as it relates to a possible peace deal concerning ending the war in Ukraine?
I would point any critics to the words of the Ukrainians yesterday, in which they said that they feel very positive about this plan. They've been very involved. They have had direct input on the language of this plan, and that we are in direct communication and correspondence with them. Any idea, let me just finish with this, the idea that the United States of America is not engaging with both sides equally in this war to bring it to an end is a complete and total fallacy. And I saw a lot of misinformation and rumors and allegations against people in this building, such as Secretary Rubio and Special Envoy Wynkoff and the President himself, that they are favoring one side over the other. That could not be further from the truth. I have watched as the President and his team have worked around the clock overnight with both sides on endless phone calls, endless meetings to try to bring this war to a close. And any suggestion otherwise is a complete misunderstanding of the facts. It's coming from people who have no idea what they're talking about, or people who are pushing their own agenda, or maybe people who don't want to see this war come to an end. I don't know. Maybe they're profiting off of it. Maybe they benefit from it in some way, but nobody in this building benefits from war. We want to see this war come to an end, and that's what the president and his team are proudly working to do. And I think the critics should just take a step back and think about what happened with Israel and Gaza. There were a lot of doubters, and we got the hostages out, and this president secured a peace deal that still exists and is ongoing today. So everyone should just respect the work this administration is doing and watch the process unfold. Thank you.
We cancel our Thanksgiving plan, Caroline.
All right, so that was Caroline Levitt, the press secretary. She said regarding the judge's ruling today, she said the White House considers the prosecutor legally appointed. The Justice Department is going to appeal the ruling. Hold on a second. The Justice Department is going to appeal the ruling that the judge made today, and she says the White House considers the prosecutor Lindsey Halligan legally appointed. She referred to the judge as a partisan judge who made this ruling, and said that she said that the White House has confidence in prosecutor Lindsey Halligan. Hey, I want to take some of the comments from you guys on this real quick. This is a sponsored video, and which I appreciate, Gold Safe Exchange. So we usually, with the sponsorships, we hear a word about the sponsor at the beginning of the video and one time later in the video. So let's hear one more time about our sponsor, and then I'll come back and take comments from you about what we just heard. You know, a number of people these days are investing in gold, silver, and other precious metals as a way of diversifying their portfolio. If you're interested in purchasing some precious metals, one way you can do that is with a precious metals IRA. This is an IRS-approved type of IRA in which your savings are invested into gold or other precious metals. If that kind of thing sounds interesting to you, if you want to know more, you can reach out to the folks at Gold Safe Exchange. They specialize in gold IRAs and other precious metals IRAs. Gold Safe Exchange puts a priority on customer service and transparency. They've got an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. They have a price match guarantee. If you find a lower quote, they'll beat it. And they explain their processes in clear language so their clients know what's happening with their money. Also, they abide by all government security and safety standards. So if you're even a little interested in opening a gold IRA or other precious metals IRA, call Gold Safe Exchange at 800-341-6727 for a no-pressure chat. Or visit them on the web at goldsafeexchange.com/agenda-free. And mention Agenda-Free TV when you reach out to access a special offer where you could get free gold or silver with qualifying purchases. Okay, I want to take some comments from you guys. We just heard Carolyn Levitt speak about what the White House thought about this ruling from the judge today that dismissed the cases against James Comey and Letitia James, a federal judge ruling that Trump's hand-picked prosecutor, Lindsey Halligan, was illegally installed, and she was not lawfully installed as the prosecutor, as the interim U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia. Now, what I'll do actually, before we take your comments, let me just get that part again where she specifically was asked about it. It was really early in her. It was early when we heard from her. I got to pull it up here. Hang on a second. I want to replay it for you. She talked about it several times, but there was one kind of big answer she gave. I have to cue it up for you. Okay. The audio didn't work for the first few seconds, by the way. I'm sorry about that. All right, so this is going to be moments ago at the White House. I can see it here. Moments ago, fine. And then let me just get the right. Okay, here it is.
What they were doing in this video.
This is moments ago. The White House press secretary, after being asked. She's asked about the ruling, the court ruling today, the judge's ruling. Here is what she had to say. You'll hear the question in a second.
Knew what they were doing in this video, and Senator Mark Kelly and all of them should be held accountable for that. No, because Lindsey Halligan was legally appointed, and that's the administration's position. I know there was a judge who is clearly trying to shield Letitia James and James Comey from receiving accountability, and that's why they took this unprecedented action to throw away the indictments against these two individuals. But the Department of Justice will be appealing very soon, and it is our position that Lindsey Halligan is extremely qualified for this position, but more importantly, was legally appointed to it. Steve.
Did she say the judge was trying to keep them from being held accountable? Hold on a second here. Actually, everything's all messed up here. Hang on a second here. Sorry that things are a little bit messed up on the screen, but
because it does not exist. They knew what they were doing in this video, and Senator Mark Kelly and all. No, because Lindsey Halligan was legally appointed, and that's the administration's position. I know there was a judge who is clearly trying to shield Letitia James and James Comey from receiving accountability, and that's why they took this unprecedented action to throw away the indictments against these two individuals. But the Department of Justice will be appealing very soon, and it is our position that Lindsey Halligan is extremely qualified for this position, but more importantly, was legally appointed to it. Steve.
So she said that the White House believes the judge issued this ruling because the judge was trying to keep Comey and Letitia James from being held accountable. That's what she just said. Okay, let me take some comments from you guys. Let's see. Michael Avery thinks it's terrible to claim that. Later, she said that President Trump had full confidence in Lindsey Halligan. Thank you, Sevenfold. Sevenfold says, taking on the responsibility of a judge is a bigger responsibility than most know. The trajectory of lives are determined with split-second decisions. Paula Thompson thinks she shouldn't be allowed to talk about a judge like that. Now, it is interesting. So that was the first from the White House on this ruling that I've heard. President Trump still hasn't commented about it. Now, I mean, I don't know how to read into that. Should we take on that President Trump thinks it's not a big deal? Or, I mean, you'd think he'd be upset about it. I don't know. Is he just like, well, we'll appeal it? Or behind the scenes, is he quite upset? I don't know. I'm not there. Chappie thinks Halligan will be removed. Now, the thing is, so they're appealing this ruling. So what happens if they lose the appeal? If they lose the appeal, then they can still bring the case, but they would have to have another prosecutor bring the case or get Lindsey Halligan appointed in the legal way, which I believe would involve. For the time being, she would have to get approved by the judges in the district, I believe, and then eventually confirmed by the Senate. I don't know if the judges in the district would approve her. Austin Batman thinks Trump has more important things going on, such as Russia, Ukraine, and Venezuela. Kenneth Cobb, our viewer, thinks the point was to make Comey and Letitia James go through legal hardship, and I don't think he cared if they won. Look, this is an interesting point by our viewer, Kenneth Cobb. Kenneth thinks that if the point was to torment them, maybe Trump didn't think he was going to win the case anyway. I don't know. Michael Burnett says, bigger fish to fry. So that's interesting. Proud Patriot says Trump is pardoning turkeys. Hey guys, something else. So this was not planned today, but we got to see Carolyn Leavitt answering questions at the White House. Now, I will say that in 8 minutes, President Trump is scheduled to sign an executive order at 4 p.m. Now, there aren't supposed to be cameras there, but you never know. Maybe we'll stay on the air a few minutes and see. It's possible we'll get some video from his executive order signing. I mean, we're on the air already. So, you know, let's wait a few minutes and see if maybe we get a comment from him on camera about this ruling. We might. And who knows about what else? You never know. You never know. Canada Stu thinks Comey can sue for malicious prosecution. I'm not sure about that. Oh, is the executive order that he's signing today? Some of our viewers, I think, are saying that it's about turkeys. Is that the executive order today? Or do they don't they usually do that on camera? Isn't there a public turkey pardoning ceremony? Princess Kidda said, so the merits of the case didn't get tossed out. Right. The ruling today was not about the merits of the case. It was about, the ruling said that the prosecutor who brought the indictments was not legally appointed. All right, so again, we have about 6 minutes until President Trump is supposed to do some sort of executive order signing in the Oval Office with closed press. But I'm going to wait and see if maybe it's not closed press. So we'll see. You never know. We might get a surprise video from the White House in a few minutes. I think we may at some point do a separate stream on Venezuela stuff. I haven't heard about like huge new developments today, but I don't really want to get into it too much on this stream. But again, we may do a separate stream at some point on that. me see if I have any updates. Here. Austin Batman said Fox News says the executive order is on AI. Let's see if I can find anything about it for you. I haven't seen, did Fox say that? I haven't seen it. What is it going to be about? 5 minutes till Trump is supposed to sign an executive order. We are waiting to see if we're going to see that at all. Hey, thanks to Tech Slug for your support on Twitch. I appreciate that, Tech Slug. Austin it's right. Okay. Fox says soon Trump to sign exec order on AI. That is correct. I just saw it on Fox News. Thanks to Austin Batman. Is there any chance that'll actually be live? Any chance that that will actually be live? AFP says currently closed press. Well, we're gonna wait for a second and see what the deal with that is. I'm waiting to see more from the White House press pool too, and see if they have any updates on this. I'm trying to look online to see anything more about the executive order. So, there was reporting several days ago that Trump would soon sign an executive order that would thwart state AI laws, state laws concerning artificial intelligence. I wonder if that's what'll be the executive order today. But I'm not sure. I know CNBC had an article about it several days ago. Oh, no, but look at this. See, this is from Reuters 3 days ago. Look at this from 3 days ago from Reuters. Hold on. You'll see it in a second. 3 days ago from Reuters, White House pauses executive order that would seek to preempt state laws on AI, sources say. Now, Friday, Reuters reported that the White House has put on hold a draft executive order that would seek to preempt state laws on artificial intelligence through lawsuits and by withholding federal funds. The draft order, which Reuters reported on earlier last week, would have likely faced significant pushback from states, but its consideration shows how far Trump is willing to go to help AI companies overcome a patchwork of laws they say stifle innovation. The draft executive order would have tasked Attorney General Bondi with establishing an AI litigation task force whose sole responsibility shall be to challenge state AI laws, including on grounds that such laws unconstitutionally regulate interstate commerce, are preempted by existing federal regulations, and are otherwise unlawful. It would also direct the Department of Commerce to review state laws and issue guidelines that would withhold broadband funding in some cases. Reuters reported 3 days ago that this executive order was on hold. But Fox says Trump is going to sign an executive order on AI. It's 4 o'clock. The executive order signing is supposed to be now. So we're waiting to find out about that. Bonus coverage. Because I'm also thinking maybe he'll say something about today's court ruling. As soon as I have more, I will let you know. I appreciate you being here for the broadcast. Hey, thanks to our moderators, Leslie Ladyhawk, Janet B. Thank you so much for moderating. Ruth, thank you for moderating over there. Let me also put on the screen. Well, we're awaiting for a Trump executive order signing, which may or may not be on camera. Right now, no, but we'll see. Thanks to our moderators, Idaho Star, I Got That Fire, Matthew Kohai 3, and Riff Tracks on Twitch. Thank you to our Facebook moderators. Kay Lowry Body is there, Paul Anderson, Margaret Riley, thank you, and Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha on X. Nothing yet from the White House press pool about the 4 p.m., it's now 4:01, scheduled 4 p.m. executive order signing. Hang on a moment here. Hang on a moment. Give me one moment here. In the meantime, while we're waiting for this executive order signing, Babelicious Nails says Trump time is always late. Yeah, so I'm waiting for the executive order signing because, again, there might be video of it, and also he might comment about the judge dismissing the Comey and Letitia James cases ruling. Leave the Goats Alone thinks it would be an abuse of power if Trump tried to federalize states' rights on AI. Thank you, AZ Intel's dad. That's so nice of you. And thanks, AZ Intel's dad, for supporting the moderators and shouting them out. So while we wait to get some sort of information about this executive order signing and possible video, let's just, I saw the Washington Post updated their article about this court ruling. So let me just talk a little bit about this. The Washington Post says a federal judge dismissed charges against former FBI Director James Comey and New York Attorney General Letitia James today. The Post says this delivers an emphatic blow to President Trump's efforts to engineer prosecutions of two of his prominent foes. The judge ruled that Lindsey Halligan, the prosecutor overseeing both cases, had been unlawfully appointed to her position, and therefore the indictments that she secured against Comey and James must be thrown out. The decision would allow the Justice Department to seek a new indictment against James under a lawfully appointed prosecutor. In Comey's case, though, the judge suggested the time to do so has run out, but it's unclear whether that's the case legally. Comey's lawyers have argued that he cannot be recharged now because the statute of limitations on his case expired days after he was indicted in September. In her written opinion, the judge appeared to endorse that view, citing precedents that have held that if an indictment is invalid at the time it is issued, it does not pause the clock on the statute of limitations. In the ruling, the judge wrote, all actions flowing from Ms. Halligan's defective appointment, including securing and signing Mr. Comey's indictment, constitute unlawful exercises of executive power and must be set aside. And as we mentioned, the White House press secretary said She told reporters that Trump's reaction to the ruling was, "We've seen this before. We've seen partisan judges take unprecedented steps to try to intervene in accountability before, but we're not going to give up." She said the Department of Justice is going to appeal this ruling. Comey's attorney said today, Comey's attorney, Patrick J. Fitzgerald, I haven't seen this quote yet, said, "Today, an independent judiciary vindicated our system of laws, not just for Mr. Comey, but for all American citizens." Also, an attorney for Letitia James, Abby Lowell, said the judge's decision showed the extreme measures Trump took to bring these baseless charges to to bring these baseless charges after a career. What is this? Oh, sorry. Abby Lawyer. I can't read this correctly. Abby Lowell, who's an attorney for Letitia James, said that Curry's decision showed the extreme measures Trump took to bring these baseless charges after career prosecutors refused. The lawyer said this case was not about justice or the law. It was about targeting Attorney General James for what she stood for and who she challenged. Letitia James, in a statement, said no matter what comes next, she remains fearless in the face of these baseless charges. We played you James Comey's statement earlier. All right, we're waiting to get some word about this Trump executive order signing, which was supposed to happen at 4. I did not hear that it happened yet. It is 4:06. Okay. Our viewer Sean M. thinks Comey is on camera committing perjury under oath. Thank you. I am your mom 421 for watching. Christy Claft, our viewer, said, sad when they have to shoehorn an unqualified lawyer into the position because the case has no merit and qualified lawyers won't take the case. Army vet, the judge's name is Cameron McGowan Curry, who was originally appointed in the Clinton administration. I do not have any kind of specific knowledge about the judge. I don't. What executive order is it? I don't know, but I'm wondering if it might be on camera and he might take questions. Fox News said it was an AI executive order. So I figured we would just wait, but I've heard nothing about it. Nothing from the White House press corps about it. AFP still says it is currently closed press, but I'm guessing if it becomes open, they'll show it. So as soon as I hear something either way, I'll let you know. We did get to see an unplanned gaggle by the White House press secretary. So that's something. Some of our viewers mentioned the stock market. Wall Street ends higher on tech rebound, rising rate cut bets, says Reuters. In case you were wondering. Wall Street stocks closed higher today, extending the Friday's rally as increased odds that the U.S. Federal Reserve will lower its Fed funds target rate in December helped investors look past concerns about inflated tech stock valuations. Strength in the Magnificent Seven group of artificial intelligence-related momentum stocks put the tech-heavy NASDAQ out front. Also, a spate of economic reports belatedly released after the recent 6-week government shutdown hinted at labor market weakness and stubbornly elevated inflation, which has bolstered investor optimism that the Fed will implement its third and final interest rate cut of 2025 at the conclusion of its December monetary meeting. We'll have to cover that December meeting. Financial markets are pricing in an 85% likelihood of a rate cut in December, up from 42.4% a week ago, according to CME's FedWatch tool. We are still waiting for this executive order signing by Trump to see if there's video and if he says anything about this ruling. Right, as C. Serwin says, it's possible that there will be video of the signing that comes out after the signing. Sometimes that's how the White House does it, is they'll have a signing and there will be press in there, but they won't show it live, and then they'll show it after. So that certainly could happen. I don't know how long that'll take. I beat Kasparov thinks Trump will say he'll appeal it. But I'm staying live for now because I want to get that to you. If it happens. Now, I also want to... I should probably play you the Comey thing one more time. Hang on. For those who haven't seen it. James Comey posted a video response to the ruling today. I should show you this. Okay. Let's see if I can actually, let me get it queued up here and I'll show it to you. For those who haven't seen it. Okay, here is what James Comey had to say about the ruling today.
I'm grateful that the court ended the case against me, which was a prosecution based on malevolence and incompetence, and a reflection of what the Department of Justice has become under Donald Trump, which is heartbreaking. But I was also inspired by the example of the career people who refused to be part of this travesty. It cost some of them their jobs, which is painful, but it preserved their integrity, which is beyond price. And I know they will serve again. I was very lucky that some of the best lawyers in America stepped forward to represent me. I hope they serve as an example to more and more lawyers, especially at some of the big firms, to participate in protecting our liberty, protecting the rule of law. And my family and friends were always with me, and luckily for me, include some of those great lawyers. This case mattered to me personally, obviously, but it matters most because a message has to be sent that the President of the United States cannot use the Department of Justice to target his political enemies. I don't care what your politics are, you have to see that as fundamentally un-American and a threat to the rule of law that keeps all of us free. I know that Donald Trump will probably come after me again, and my attitude is going to be the same. I'm innocent, I am not afraid, and I believe in an independent federal judiciary, the gift from our founders that protects us from a would-be tyrant. When I was a kid, my parents would wake us up for school every morning by snapping open the shades and saying, "Time to rise and shine and show the world what you're made of." Well, it's that time, America. It's time to stand up and show the fools who would frighten us, who would divide us, that we're made of stronger stuff, that we believe in the rule of law, that we believe in the importance of doing things by the law. So stand tall, shine, and keep the faith. I'm grateful that the court ended the case against me, which was a prosecution.
That was from James Comey. There you go. We are still waiting to see. We're still waiting to see if President Trump's executive order, if there's going to be video from it. He was supposed to sign an executive order 16 minutes ago. And I haven't heard any more about it. And I haven't seen video yet. So we are staying on the air to see if we get any video. How long will I wait? I don't know. See if I have any other reporting on it for you. No, nothing there. Nothing there. Phoenix, our viewer, thinks James Comey would make a great president, whereas Mad Mike thinks Comey sounds like a serial killer. Molly Morgan says, I hope we get video of the executive order signing. The White House is inviting people to vote online about which Turkey gets pardoned. They just posted this. Swipe, the American people are now invited to vote for which Turkey will participate in the ceremonial pardoning tomorrow. The pardoning ceremony is tomorrow. Text gobble or waddle to 45470 by midnight tonight to choose your match. Patricia Grace says, do they all get pardoned? I don't know that they all get pardoned. Doesn't seem like that. Again, right now I am still on the air waiting to see what happens with this. Oh, you know what? I didn't see this before. Corey Lambrecht just sent me this. Okay, here it is. Look what Corey Lambrecht, our viewer, showed me this. We have a word about the executive order. President Trump just signed an executive order directing Secretary Rubio and Scott Bessent to begin the process of designating certain chapters of the Muslim Brotherhood as foreign terrorist organizations and specially designated global terrorists. The order claims that the Muslim Brotherhood, founded in Egypt in 1928, has developed into a transnational network with chapters across the Middle East and beyond. Relevant here, its chapters in Lebanon, Jordan, and Egypt engage in or facilitate and support violence and destabilization campaigns that harm their own regions. I don't know what practical effect this will have. Trump begins process to designate certain Muslim Brotherhood chapters as foreign terrorist organizations and specially designated global terrorists. Yeah, I gotta look and see if I have any background on this. Thomas Darwin says, so it wasn't AI. Well, maybe he's signing more than one. I don't really know background about this new order. But again, they just put out that he signed it. I'll give it a couple minutes and see if we get anything more about it. Thanks to the viewer for pointing that out. Yeah, and I'm not even seeing like many news stories about it at this point. Fox News had reported several hours ago that President Trump had said over the weekend that he was planning to designate the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization. Fox News says this comes after several groups have stepped up warnings that Muslim Brotherhood is gaining a foothold in the U.S. Recently, Texas declared the Muslim Brotherhood a terrorist organization. And Fox News says that this comes also just days after the Institute for the Study of Global Anti-Semitism and Policy issued a study warning of Muslim Brotherhood's growing influence in the U.S. Anyways, so the White House is saying that he has signed that. I assume that's what he signed at 4 p.m. Yeah, just signed. They said he just signed it. He just signed it, guys. So that's the one he just signed. The White House fact sheet says President Trump is confronting the Muslim Brotherhood's transnational network, which fuels terrorism and destabilization campaigns against U.S. interests and allies in the Middle East. All right. Well, guys, at this point, I mean, I'm not sure. I haven't heard. I mean, there might be video that comes out about this later, but I have no idea if there will be. I mean, they just released a whole fact sheet about it. I think I'm maybe going to start wrapping up this stream. We were only staying on to see if he might come on and say something about the court ruling. But we already got the press secretary saying that the White House thinks that the Lindsey Halligan was legally appointed and they're going to appeal the ruling today. Yeah, I think it might be time. I think it might be time. If there's big news later, we can come back on the air and do another stream. Yeah, guys, as to why the cases were thrown out, we talked about this. I mean, I guess some people asked about it again. We talked about it repeatedly on the stream. The cases were thrown out because the judge said that the prosecutor was unlawfully appointed to the position. The basic idea of the legal argument, as I understand it, is that when the Trump administration took over, they appointed a interim U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia, and he gets a 120-day appointment. Then he's supposed to be confirmed by the Senate, but then the Trump administration reportedly pushed that U.S. attorney out because reportedly he did not want to bring these cases. And then after they pushed him out, they brought in another person, Lindsey Halligan, as another interim U.S. attorney. And as I understand it, the legal argument is that the judge's position is that the law says that that a presidential administration cannot consecutively appoint interim U.S. attorneys for 120-day periods who are not being confirmed by the Senate. Because the idea would be if a president can do that, then the president can just keep appointing an interim U.S. attorney and never have the person actually approved by the Senate, which would undermine the whole concept of Senate approval of this person. So I'm not positive about that, but from what we read before, and we talked about it extensively before on the stream, that's my take. That's my understanding of what the ruling was about. It was that she was a consecutive appointment. And I'll post a link to the ruling so you can, I'm not a lawyer. You can go through the ruling yourself. I just posted a link to it. But that's as I understand it, that's the basic idea of why she was not allowed to be appointed, of why the judge ruled that she was not a legal appointee. Because she was the second consecutive interim appointee for that position. Anyways, all right, so I'm going to start wrapping the stream up. I really appreciate you guys being here for the stream. I'm keeping an eye on the Venezuela stuff. If there's big developments, of course, we'll cover it. If there's some other big development and some other story, we'll jump on the air and cover that. We'll have to see what happens, how the Justice Department's report, White House says that the Justice Department's going to appeal this ruling. I don't know how the appeals are going to go. Maybe they'll try to bring the case again against against Letitia James or both of them. We'll see. So we'll have to see. But anyways, again, much appreciated those who came and joined the stream today. Thank you so much, and I'm sure we'll have more coverage soon. If you want, subscribe, follow the channel, Agenda Free TV. We cover all kinds of live breaking news without an agenda here, Agenda Free TV. And I would suggest turn on the notifications. I never know when there's going to be a big news story that happens, and I'm going to have to rush on the air. So I would suggest signing up for our free notifications. You sign up once, you get sent a notification whenever we go live. It works really well. We do it through Discord. The mods will post the link to the notifications in the chat, and you can find those the notification sign up link on Facebook and YouTube in the description of this video. Also, I just want to mention, I will post updates about this and other stories on my X account where I cover breaking news. At Lookner on X. You can follow me there for breaking news coverage. At Lookner on X. Also, hey, big thanks to our moderators. Our moderators are fantastic. They are the ones that allow us to have chat rooms where you guys can chat with each other. People with different views can chat. Civilly and respectfully. The mods are keeping it under control there, so thanks so much to our mods. For example, on YouTube, Beth Mythical, Ruth Krafasi, Roberts May Queen, Janet B. Thanks so much for being there. Leslie Ladyhawk, all of our YouTube moderators, our Twitch moderators, like Idaho Star, I Got That Fire, Matthew Kohai 3, big thanks to you, and all of our other Twitch moderators. On Facebook, Paul Anderson, Kay Lowry Body, Margaret Riley, all of our other Facebook moderators, big thanks. Linda Belk, Larry, and Misha on X, thanks so much to all of our moderators. And thanks also for, I read a bunch of comments today. I appreciate people letting me read the comments on the air. And thanks for sending me news updates as well. And appreciate, again, you tuning in. And thanks, a bunch of people donated. That's so nice of you, guys. I really appreciate that. I think I missed somebody. Oh, Bon, some viewers said I had a thingy on my eyelash. Did I have something on my eyelash? I don't know. I don't know if it's still there. If it is, I'm sorry. Thank you, Bonre7898 for your support. And TDo417, thanks for your support. I appreciate that. And everybody else for your support. Also on Twitch, Tech Slug, thank you. If you ever want to donate, you go to agendafree.tv, agendafree.tv. But thanks so much. That is really nice of you guys. That is what allows the channel to exist, so thank you. Let's see here. The White House just emailed out that executive order, by the way. A couple people said there was something on my eyelash, so I'm sorry if that was the case. Normally, if it's a huge thing, lots of people will complain in the chat. Let's see here. Hey, another good way to find out when we're live is follow us on X. If you're on X, at Agenda Free TV. I always post there when we go live. I post there updates about the channel over there at Agenda Free TV. Also, we do have a chat where you can chat with other viewers when we're not live. It's on Discord. It's free. Our Discord chat, check it out. A bunch of our viewers like doing that. It's the same link as the free notifications link. Check out the Discord chat. Big thanks to our Discord mods for all you do as well. Thanks so much, Discord mods. And also, thank you to, well, I want to say another good way to find out when we're live. If you're watching on YouTube, turn on the YouTube notifications. Make sure you have those turned on. The way to turn on the YouTube notifications, you got to subscribe to the channel. Then you click the bell and you choose all notifications. If you're already subscribed, make sure you have the bell clicked and you've chosen all notifications. Also, hey, I want to shout out our Twitch subscribers. Really appreciate you subscribing and supporting the channel over there, like Wall Street and Shaggy, Amalian, Matthew Kohai 3, CC, Devil Doc. Thank you. Barcodable. Thanks to all of them and all of our subscribers on Twitch. Thank you. And our YouTube, our Facebook subscribers too, like Jennifer Ellers, Chuck Mosca, Sharon Klassen Goslin, Margaret Riley, Kay Lowry, Body Shannon Davis Hughes, and Michael Clayton, Lou Knight, Diane Allworth, all of our other Facebook subscribers, thank you as well. Robert Real II, thanks, Robert. And I should have thanked the subscribers earlier, but sorry, next time. And also our YouTube members. Thanks to all of our YouTube members, people like UV Lightning, Gary Baines, CAC813, Ken Lance, Evelyn in Maine, Pierre Dubois, J.K. Sinar, the one and only Patricia Grace, CAC, Michael Avery, Larry Martinez, Val Cargo, Walkie Talkie, Sydney, KBSH, L. James Fan. Thanks for being members, Dreaming in Color, and all of our other viewers as well. Evelyn and Maine, did I say? All of our other viewers, thank you for watching. All right, so again, I will keep an eye out for more news for Venezuela and other things. If there's other big news, we will come on the air and do more coverage. Thanks, Michelle Batten, for watching, Melissa Terry for watching, Christy Claff for watching, Danny Parton. Danny Parton says, they will appeal this ruling, no way it can stand. Thank you, Kenwar, for watching, Limey Show, Justin D. Winters, Nana of 9 Munchkins, and everybody else. So that is it for now. You've been watching our live coverage of the judge dismissing the case against James Comey and Letitia James, although the White House says it's going to be appealed by the Department of Justice. Let me do one last check and make sure President Trump didn't post about anything on his True Social. Nope, nothing yet from President Trump about this. Maybe tonight he'll post something about it. That's all I have for now, though. I don't have anything else from him. All right, let's see here. That's it. I think that's it. All right, that is it, guys. Thanks so much for being here, and really appreciate it. And we will see you soon with more live breaking news coverage right here at Agenda Free TV.